So some interesting info on proprioception, vision, anticipation in sport. All right, so to start, we'll talk about proprioception. So that's awareness of where our body's at in space. All right, so we've heard about the muscle spindles, the GTOs. So muscle spindles respond to stretch, GTOs respond to tension. That's what you learn in strength and conditioning. All right, but the coolest thing about that is those are our proprioceptors. So they allow us to know where our body's at in space. So say I'm blind or in a dark room, I can't see nothing. All right, I still know where my body's at in space because of the sensory input from those proprioceptors. All right, so I know where my body's at in space. So now, let's say I open up my eyes and I'm in a room. Okay, so I'm in this room. It's a fixed environment. Nothing's really changing. All right, so now I have sensory input from my from vision, and from my proprioceptors. So I can manipulate my body to move through this fixed environment pretty quickly and easily because nothing's really changing. All right, but the problem is in sport, there is a constantly changing, chaotic environment, especially sports like football or basketball. So we have to manipulate our body to move quickly through that constantly changing environment. So say a running back gets the ball and there's guys trying to tackle him, there's guys falling on the ground. He has to quickly move through that, manipulate his body to move through that chaotic environment. So how does he do that? Well, all that sensory input from vision and from our proprioceptors are constantly being sent to our cerebellum, and that's why the cerebellum is so important. So the cerebellum can take in that sensory input and bypass those slower cortical decision-making processes in the prefrontal cortex and allow us to manipulate our body more quickly through that chaotic environment compared to constantly having to think about how we're going to move through that environment. So we can bypass those decision-making processes and we can just naturally move through this chaotic, changing environment just based on the cerebellum taking in all that sensory input and sending out that motor program that we can almost be reflexive with how we're manipulating our body and moving through that chaotic environment in sport.